Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel. Now it's been a while since my video a couple weeks ago where I announced I was joining the Black and Gold Hockey Productions team. As recently I've been dealing with final exams to end my college. I'm a senior this year. However, I am pretty much done now. I have a couple things left. I am recording this video on Tuesday, the 12th. However, you're going to be seeing this video most likely on Fridays when I'm most likely uploading it. We have recording on Tuesday. I still have a little bit left, but wanted to get this video recorded because I think it'd be a good idea to record a video just so I have something for this week. And what I'm doing today for my video is I'm going to be ranking all 6 of the Stanley Cup winning Boston Bruins teams throughout history. Now, the Bruins, obviously, they've won the Stanley Cup 6 times, which is it's a lot, obviously, because I've heard a lot of the newer teams in the league. They're an original 6 team. They've been around for a long time, 1924. And obviously playing every season since. And they've won Stanley Cup 6 times. They won it in first time was in 1928-29 season, and they won it again in 1938-39. 2 years later, they won it in 40-41. Then they went a bit of time without winning until 69-70, and 2 years later, in 71-72, they won again. And most recently, they won the Cup in 2010-2011. So those are the 6 times the Bruins have won the Stanley Cup. I'm going to be ranking these 6 teams based on what personal opinion for this. However, I'm basing my opinion off of regular season performance, the playoff performances, as well as the time period of the game. Because going back to the 20s, the game was way different then compared to the 70s, which is different compared to the game now. So, there's a lot of different factors to look at when I'm ranking these teams. I do have some statistics based on each team, but from there, it really is a personal opinion. So I'm going to start this off with the 6th choice team of the Stanley Cup winning Boston Bruins sides. That was going to be the second team to win. That was the 1940-41 season. Now they were a really good team back then. It was just before the original 6 era, before there was only 6 teams in the league, but there was all the original 6 teams were still there. There was a couple more teams that left. But they were the NHL leaders, so they had the best record in the NHL. They had a 27-8-13, so 27 wins, 8 losses, and 13 ties. At home, they were very good at 15-4-5, and on the road, they were 12-4-8. Very good records, home and away. Now they were the first in goals, and they were tied for second in goals allowed, with 168 goals for and 102 goals against. Again, those are very low compared to modern standards, but again, they also played significantly fewer games. Now, for the route to the Stanley Cup, they had to beat Toronto in 7 games, and then they beat Detroit in 4 to win the Stanley Cup. Now, this team, it was obviously not as many big names like most you'll know, but there were a lot of very, very good players who were on the team. They were led by Bill Cowley, who had 45 assists for a total of 62 points on the season, the regular season. They also had Roy Conacher, who had 24 goals in the 48-game season. And the goalie was Frank Brumsick, who posted a 2.01 goals against average and had 27 wins in the season. Now, this team, they were coached by Cooney Weiland, and the captain was Dick Clapper, and they also had the general manager was Art Ross. Now, this team, obviously, they were leaders. They were very good. They were in front from pretty much all season and carried it in playoffs. Doesn't mean anything, obviously, in postseason because any team can win. Now, the reason why I think this team is the lowest of all the 6 teams who won the Stanley Cup, I think it's more just the way they did it. They obviously only 2 series. They did sweep the Stanley Cup final against Detroit, but it took them 7 games to beat Toronto. And then obviously look at the stats. They had a really good record home and away in a 48-game season, and there were good goals for and against. There's something missing about this team for me that makes me put them in 6. Now, something they also have with some awards. They had Cowley, he was the Hart Trophy winner for the league MVP. They had Bobby Bauer, who won the League Big Memorial Trophy. And the team won the Prince of Wales Trophy for being regular season champion. Now, the Prince of Wales trophies, it will be mentioned multiple times in this list, but it had different meanings each time, so I can explain what it was every time. So that was the 6th team, the 1940-41 season. Now, moving up to 5th place, I'd say it's probably the most iconic Boston Bruins Stanley Cup winning team. That was one from 1969 and 70. Now, this team, obviously, it's a very well-known Stanley Cup win as Bobby Orr scored the goal That was 50 years ago, actually, this week on Sunday, and it was probably the most iconic picture in all sports history. Bobby Orr being tripped up after scoring the goal in overtime to win the Stanley Cup for the Bruins against the Blues. Now, this team, it was a very good team. However, it wasn't the best overall. Again, this is one of those 12 teams in the league, so it's more, but still not a whole lot compared to modern day. But they were second place in the East Division as well as the NHL. As back then, the East Division had a lot. That was the original 6 teams, and the West was the other 6 teams. Now the other 6 weren't as good overall compared to the East. And obviously the NHL, they were 40, 17, and 19 on the season, so a 27, 3, and 8 home record, which is insanely impressive. The issue for them was their road performances. They were not as good. They were 13, 14, and 11. They were actually only time that you're going to see in this list where the record for home or away was below 500. Now, they were number one team in goals scored. They scored 277 goals, which is quite a lot. But they did allow 216 goals, which was that was middle of the pack, sixth fewest. Then, if you look at the way they got to the Stanley Cup, they had to beat the New York Rangers in 6 games. Then they swept the Chicago Blackhawks and St. Louis Blues. They did have very good performances in the playoffs to get to the Stanley Cup and to win it. But obviously, their stars, there was 3 big names. You had Bobby Orr, who is probably one of the greatest players in hockey history, especially one of the best defensemen of all time. He led 87 assists and 120 points in the season. Phil Esposito led the team with 43 goals, and Gary Cheevers was in goal with a 2.72 goals against average and 24 wins. But that was the worst goals against average of any goalie, and this team doesn't have the statistics based on goal, but they had a lot of offensive production. It was the second highest goal total of any Stanley Cup winning team for the Bruins. But the issue with this team is, I don't know, there's something about the team. They definitely lack the overall production in terms of that away record really stood out to me, and I think it's the most iconic one, but it may not be the best. Now they were coached by Harry Sinden, his only Cup win with the Bruins. Now they had no captain for this season, and it was the alternate captains instead were Johnny Busick, Phil Esposito, Ed Westfall. Now the GM was Milt Schmidt as well, who was a very good legend of the Bruins. Now this team was as I said, they may not have been insanely good overall, the record-wise, but they had some really good players. And that was primarily Bobby Orr. As I said, one of the greatest players in hockey history, definitely the best defenseman in my opinion. Now he was the one who racked up all the awards for the Bruins. He won the Art Ross Trophy for most points. He won the Conn Smythe for playoff MVP, won the Hart Trophy for league MVP, and won the Norris for best defenseman, as well as getting the plus minus award for having the best plus minus in the NHL this season. But along with the highest season, it was an NHL record. So a plus 124 for him was the best in NHL history. He also set the record for assists with 87, the most goals by a defenseman with 33, and he also became the first defenseman to record over 100 points in a single season. And the team did also set a record in the playoffs with most consecutive playoff wins with 10. They won their final 2 games against the Rangers, and they also swept the Blackhawks and the Blues. They played very well all season. Bobby Orr, especially, that was his real breakout season, as he was the dominant player in that season. But again, I think what really makes him the 5th best compared to being the best or one of the best was the fact they had that really bad away record. But their team itself was stacked with a lot of players who were really good. But that's why I'm going to have them in 5th. But again, personal opinion here, I really want to put this team towards the top because of how iconic it was. But looking at the numbers behind it, they actually were probably one of the lower ones. One thing you will notice, though, as I'll go through here, whenever the Bruins win the Stanley Cup, they're always near the top of the NHL. They're usually first or second, give or take a year or two. But they were very good every single season they were Stanley Cup champions. Now, the 4th best team for the Bruins to win the Stanley Cup, I'm going to go with the most recent Stanley Cup winning team, and that was one from 2010-11. Now, this team is the only one that I've been alive to see win the Stanley Cup, and I remember it very well watching Game 7 against Vancouver, the 4-0 win, the Bergeron goal with his hand basically nearly hitting it, but it was a clean goal, beautiful play. I remember that very well. Now, this team from 2010-11, they were the division winners for the Northeast Division. And they did finish third in the Eastern Conference in terms of their seed, but they were tied for fourth in points, as there was a team from another division who was not their division winner that actually had more points. Now they were tied fourth there, and in terms of the NHL, they were tied for seventh in the NHL. Now this is the lowest of the standing positions for any of the Bruins championship winning teams. The only reason why is because this is the only time they've won it when there's been 30 teams in the league. So as there's a lot more players, more teams, you're going to have a lot more competition, and they did really well. I mean, they finished with a 46, 25, and 11 record, so that was 11 overtime losses. This is the only season where overtime losses that it ties. But they were also 22, 13, and 6 at home, which is pretty good, actually. It's not insane as compared to, like, that 27, 3, and 8 from the 69-70 season. It was still very solid. But what really saved this team was their away record. They were 24, 12, and 5 on the road. It's a very, very impressive away record, especially considering how the league is stacked with the salary cap nowadays. That it's hard to be consistently at the top in winning championships. They've only won once since. They made two cup finals since then, but again, they haven't been able to win it yet. Now, this team was very good with goals. They scored 246, which was the third best offense actually in the East. They also have the best defense in all of the Eastern Conference, only allowing 195 goals. And it seems a lot, but again, modern day hockey is going to have a lot more goals. Everything's a bit weird. I feel like the goalies, they've gotten better, but there's still more goals. That's a little more, mostly because of the pace of play. Now, the way they got the cup, they beat the Montreal Canadiens, the rivals, in 7 games. Then they swept the Flyers in 4 before beating the Lightning in 7, and obviously ended it with a Stanley Cup victory against the Vancouver Canucks in 7 games. Now, the leaders for this team, obviously, you're going to think of Zdeno Chara, Patrice Bergeron, even Brad Marchand. All of them were really good players, but they weren't the statistical leaders. That was Milan Lucic, who actually led with 30 goals and tied for the lead with 62 points. David Krejci, who had 49 assists and also tied for with 62 points. And obviously the goalie was Tim Thomas, who had 2.0 goals against average and 35 wins in the season. Now this team actually was really impressive defensively for me. They had 11 shutouts in the regular season, which was tied for with the Rangers for the league lead, which is very impressive, having 11 shutouts in 82 games. It's a very good performance. Now this team, they were coached by Claude Julien. The GM was Peter Chiarelli. The captain was Zdeno Chara. And they also had the alternate captains that were Patrice Bergeron and Mark Recchi. Now for this team, they didn't have a lot of awards because they weren't necessarily the most impressive team in the season, as Vancouver won the President's Trophy this season, but obviously Bruins won the Cup. Now, Tim Thomas won the Vezina for Best Goalie and the Conn Smythe Award, as he was the playoff MVP, and he definitely stood on his head in the playoffs. And another award was actually Zdeno Chara winning the Mark Messier Leadership Award. Again, very self-explanatory. Chara is the captain of the team since 2006. Very much a leader, and he well earned that award. He's obviously the lift the cup. And now, there was actually a couple records set, all by Tim Thomas as well for this postseason. He set a record with 798 saves in the playoffs, as well as 238 of them in the Stanley Cup Finals. And then he also had the highest regular season save percentage at 938. It's a very, very impressive save percentage from Tim Thomas. Now this Bruins team, again, I very well could have put them a lot higher. I have more experience watching this team. I've seen them on TV because I was alive for this one. However, I'm going to have them fourth just because, again, I think their overall performance in the standings was let them down compared to the top 3 Stanley Cup winning teams. And now, moving to the third place, around the top half of the Stanley Cup winning teams, is going to be the second Stanley Cup of the Bobby Orr era, and that was in the 71-72 season. Now, this Bruins team, again, very, very impressive. They did score the most goals of any Bruins Cup winning team, and that was 330 goals, which was the best offense in the league. And they only allowed 204 goals, which actually is pretty solid for a team who scores 330 goals. And they were the best team in the NHL with a 54, 13, and 11 record, 28, 4, and 7 record at home, which is insane. And they're also 26, 9, 4 on the road. They did everything really well this season. And for the playoffs, they beat Toronto in 5, the Blues in 4, and they ended up beating the Rangers in 6 to win the Cup. Now this team, very similar to the 69-70 season, they were heavily by Esposito or Cheevers. Esposito picked up 66 goals and 130 goaltending between Gary Cheevers and Eddie Johnston. They both ended up getting 27 wins in the regular season. So this was an interesting one. It's like the goalies, it was very balanced, which is you don't see a lot nowadays. Obviously, the Bruins right now with Jarl Halak and Tuukka Rask, they split the job pretty evenly, but with Tuukka getting slightly more. Now, this one was very split. Cheevers only played 3 more games than Johnston. Now, this team was coached by Tom Johnson, and the ultra captains were John Busick, Phil Esposito, Ted Green, Ed Westfall. Now, this team was very good. Again, also GM was Milt Schmidt. A different coach compared to the 69-70 season, but again, also no captain. This team was a very good team all around. Again, Orr and Esposito were 2 Hall of Famers. They were very good players. Awards, Esposito won the Art Ross Trophy, getting most points. Orr, once again, won the Norris and Conn Smythe, best defenseman, and also the playoff MVP. And the team did win the Prince of Wales Trophy again for the East Division regular season championship. Now, this team, definitely one of the best on paper in terms of offense. They had a lot of firepower. Obviously, they were led by Esposito and Orr, who were, again, two of the best players to ever wear the spoke V. But yeah, I just don't know. This team is really good. I think the caliber of the other 2 teams, just something about the other 2 teams really stand out to me to be the top 2. All right, we are on to the top 2 Bruins Stanley Cup winning teams. And now, for the second team in this list, I'm going to give it to the 1938-39 championship team. Now, this team did have the best overall record of any Bruins winning team. They finished 36-10-2. Now, that was insane. Only getting 10 losses in a season. Yes, there were 48 games. You could say technically the 71-72 team did have a better record. However, you have to take a look. And 10 losses is very, very impressive. They also didn't tie a lot. They only had 2 ties the entire season. At home, they were lights out, 22-2. On the road, they were 16-8, so they were better, above average, but they weren't insane. And then they also scored 156 goals. They only allowed 76 goals, which is very, very few. And now this team, on the way to the Cup, they did beat the Rangers in 7 games. Now this was an interesting series. The Bruins took a 3-0 lead, and they let it slip to a 3-3, then they ended up winning Game 7. Then in the Stanley Cup Finals, they beat Toronto in 5 games. Now this team, very similar to the 40-41 season, it was Bill Cowley, Roy Conacher, and Frank Brimsek who were the leaders. Cowley led with 34 assists, 42 points. Roy Conacher had 26 goals, and Brimsek had the best goals against average of any Bruins goalie for a Stanley Cup winning team. That was a 1.56 goals against average. He also won 33 games. Now, the story with this one, why he only had 33 compared to 36, is that this time of the year, this time of the career, there's usually one goalie, and that was the who played. Tiny Thompson actually was the starting goalie at the beginning of the season, but he did get injured really early on, and so Brimsek, who was a rookie, signed the Bruins to become the replacement for him. And actually, once Thompson did recover, he ended up being traded away to Detroit. Then I think the Bruins definitely did well getting Brimsek in there instead. And he was an insanely rookie. And they were coached by Art Ross, he was also the GM for the team because he was the GM a lot of the early time. And the captain was Cooney Weiland, who, as you heard earlier, he was the coach in the 40-41 season. So it's interesting how 2 years after being the captain of the Stanley Cup winning team, he was the coach of the Stanley Cup winning team. Now, for some awards, Brimsek, he won the Calder for the best rookie, as well as the Vezina for fewest goals allowed. And he also won, and the team won the Prince of Wales for being regular season champion. Now, this team, as I said, they have the best record, it seems, for any Bruins Stanley Cup winning team. They have to be in the top. I just feel like this one, the only reason why I don't have them as the number 1 is purely because of that Rangers series in the playoffs. They weren't dominant in the playoffs. They lost 3 games in a row to the Rangers, and they also lost 1 to Toronto in the final. It was still impressive. But again, I just think that this team just lacks a little bit. And that's the reason why I have them as the second best Stanley Cup winning team in Boston Bruins history. And now, the number 1 Stanley Cup winning team for the Boston Bruins has to be the very first one, 1928-29. Now, this team, they were very good. They did have the best record of any team in the NHL. And they were 26-13-5, so it wasn't an insane record. They were 11-6-1 at home, as well as 11-7-4 on the road. They did the best offense, scoring 89 goals, and they're the second best defense, only allowing 52. So that was the best defense of any Bruins team, but also was the lowest offense. But again, factoring the times, there was a lot fewer goals. Now, this team, I think, just was insane. If you look at their postseason, they did not lose a single game in playoffs. Now, it was a really weird setup back then. That they only beat Montreal in 3 games, so they won all 3 games. And they then took on the Rangers in the Stanley Cup final. They only played 2 games, and they won both games. Now, overall, in their 5 playoff games, they only scored 9 goals. But if you look, I mean, they played 44 games in the season, and they scored 89 goals. They continued that roughly in the playoffs, scoring 9 goals in 5 games. The key was they only allowed 3 goals in 5 games. So there's only 0.6 goals per game allowed in the playoffs. That's an outstanding mark for them. Actually, they had 3 shutouts. They only won 3-2, and they won 2-1. Those are the only times they let goals in. It was 1 time per series. The team was definitely the best postseason team of any Bruins team in history. As anytime you go unbeaten in the playoffs, it's amazing. And then for their team, they were led mainly by Eddie Shore, who had only 7 assists of the team, but he was also the key for their defense. One of the best players. And he argues one of the better defenders in NHL history, but he's one of the original NHL players from way back in the day. And they also had Harry Oliver, who scored 17 goals for a total of 23 points, which is fairly solid for a team almost scoring 89 goals in a season. And in goal was Tiny Thompson, who had a 1.15 goals against average in 26 wins. I did say Brimley had the best goals against average, but he also played a little more, and time did change. But so 1.15, that's outstanding for Tiny Thompson. He did win all 26 games. Now this team was probably the reason why I think this team was the best again, other than the postseason. You just had to look like this time there was teams really hadn't they hadn't really had any kind of nicknames for any team or line. Brewers actually were one of the first teams to have a line with a nickname. That was the Dynamite line. Now, this line, it was Dit Clapper, Cooney Weiland, and Dutch Gainer. These 3 very, very talented players. Cooney Weiland, he was a very big player in 38-39, captain of the team. He's very good. He also had Dit Clapper, very iconic player, and Dutch Gainer, again, a very, very good player in his time. Now, this honestly was one of the first times you're going to hear this. I know you're thinking like the Kraut line, but this was one of the original lines that had such an impact on a single team. Now, this team, they were coached by Stanley, who was actually a player coach, so he played and coached. He took over for R. Ross, who was still the GM at the time, but he ended up just being, he took over as coach as well, as R. Ross stepped down to focus on the GM. And the captain was Lionel Hitchman. And this team was, again, they're very good. They were the American Division champs for winning the Prince of Wales trophy again. It changed meanings again. But this team, again, it was the best defense of any Bruins team to ever win the Stanley Cup. Factoring goals per game, especially 52 goals in 44 games, is outstanding defense. The other offense may not have been the best, as Lear had only 23 points. But this team, they showed to be defensively resolute, and they were all around amazing defensively, and they carried forward going offense, and they had a star-studded team for the time of the 2029 season. That's my list for the top ranking the Boston Bruins Stanley Cup winning teams. I hope you all enjoyed this video. Again, I'm going to leave a link to Black and Gold, their website. Check it out. And also, I'll leave a link to the YouTube channel for them, the Black and Gold podcast channel. So I'm going to leave that. Subscribe to them over there. Watch some of the videos. Some great podcasts over there. And obviously, leave a like on this video. Subscribe to my channel. I'm hoping to have a couple more videos. I'm going to try and get a couple videos a week. So once I'm done all of my classes for the year, I'll be able to have more time to record and edit videos. And I'm planning next week starting an NHL 20 series, a franchise mode with the Boston Bruins. But thank you for watching this video. I hope you liked it. And if you have any other suggestions for other potential Boston Bruins video ideas or anything related to the Bruins, just leave a comment down below. I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.